Hey folks, hope you all are doing well. I'm Karan Bandal from Econosite, your weekly economic wrap from India and around the world. So let's get started with India. Rapid rise in India's superrich. A survey conducted by a not-for-profit think tank Price indicated progress on several fronts with Indian households. Number of poor households in India are projected to shrink. Middle income and rich households are expected to shoot up in the next decade. Here is how households are classified by price based on their incomes. Seekers and strivers combine to make the middle class. That is, households earning between 5 lakh and 30 lakh rupees per year. And super rich households are those earning more than 2 crore rupees per year. Now the key findings. India will see a 5-fold increase in its super rich families by the turn of the decade. The number of super rich households have already doubled to 1.8 million in 5 years to 2021. A larger chunk of this growth has come from rural India. The super rich class will swell further to 9.1 million by 2031, again aided by faster growth in rural India. In addition to that, global wealth managers and foreign banks are expanding in India as the nation becomes home to a rising number of millionaires. Oxfam International estimates India minted 70 new millionaires each day between 2018 and 2022. Although India is also seeing a rapid rise of billionaires such as Gautam Adani, which highlights the rising inequality in a nation where around 800 million people are still receiving subsidized food grain every month. The survey also found that the country's middle class population of 432 million is the fastest expanding category. The middle class is expected to reach 715 million by 2031. In the same time period, the destitute class with incomes less than 1,25,000 rupees per year will shrink by more than half to 79 million. If these projections pan out, India's consumption-led growth will not only sustain but also lead to a virtuous economic cycle. Next, a rare praise for India from the New York Times. A report came out in the New York Times that opined on India's space sector. The publication stated that India is set to transform the planet's connection to the final frontier. Here's why. India launched its first rocket in 1963. That projectile, its nose cone, wheeled to the launch pad on a bicycle, put a small payload 124 miles above the Earth. With such humble beginnings, in today's space race, India has found a much surer footing. India's state-run space agency, ISRO, has been making the country proud for decades now. ISRO's workhorse rocket is one of the world's most reliable for heavy loads. With a success rate of almost 95%, it has half the cost of insurance for a satellite, making India one of the most competitive launch sites in the world. It's only because of a US-based private sector firm SpaceX, India is not the world's cheapest launch site. Relaunchable rockets from SpaceX have revolutionized the business of sending heavy objects into orbit. Even today, from American spaceports at $6,500 per kilogram, SpaceX launches are the cheapest anywhere. Likewise, India's private sector has now begun to carry forward and improve on ISRO's legacy. India's vendor ecosystem is staggering in size. Decades of doing business with ISRO created about 400 private companies in clusters around Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Pune, and elsewhere, each devoted to building special screws, sealants, and other products fit for space. The number of space tech startups has exploded. In June 2020, India opened up the space sector to all kinds of private enterprise. Suddenly, India has become home to at least 140 registered space tech startups. Last year, these startups raked in $120 million in new investment at a rate that is doubling or tripling annually. The business of space has changed too. Driven more by private enterprise, space technology is fulfilling smaller scale commercial purposes. For example, Skyroot and Dhruv work in the relatively sexy areas of launch and satellite delivery, but together, those account for only 8% of India's space business pie. A much bigger slice comes from companies that specialize in collecting data beamed by satellite. Pixel is a notable startup in that area. It has developed an imaging system to detect patterns on Earth's surface that lie outside the range of ordinary color vision. It has headquarters in Bengaluru and an office in Los Angeles, as well as a contract with a secretive agency within the Pentagon. Finally, the UK's troubles in one chart. Back in October 2022, a brief spike in UK government bond yields caused the downfall of Prime Minister Liz Truss after just 45 days in office. Those bond yields were just a sign of things to come. Bond yields are nothing but interest rates on a bond. Why do these bond yields or UK interest rates matter? Because they have a direct effect on discretionary income on UK households. About 64% of households in the UK were homeowners in 2019-2020, which means majority of them have mortgage payments. Most UK mortgages reprice every 2 years, meaning as UK bond yields go up, homeowners' mortgage payments go up. According to Barclays, UK homeowners will be spending as much as 30% of their income on mortgage payments, up from about 20% previously. Mortgage payment or rent is usually the largest line item in a household's budget. Imagine your monthly rent or monthly home loan payment or monthly mortgage payment going up by 50% overnight. How will that affect your lifestyle? This is what's in store for UK households. For others who rent, the price rise will be even larger. The combination of high inflation, broad home ownership, and very short-term mortgages is disastrous for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and for the entire UK economy. In summary, households from two different countries face contrasting prospects. UK households are getting squeezed, at least in the short term, as opposed to in India. Middle class and super rich are set to expand. And a rare praise for India's space sector from the New York Times means India must be doing something right. I hope you found this week's wrap interesting. I'll speak with you again next week. Until then, take care.